Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Deckin Around Kickstarter Edition. Today, we're going to be taking a look at any decks that have funded in the past 7 days, any new decks that have launched in the past 7 days, and any decks that end their round of funding in the next week. But before we jump into it, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel.
Don't forget to ring the bell.
This week's episode is sponsored by Lit Playing Cards Cardistry Baseball Series. Make sure to check it out when it launches on Kickstarter July 28th at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So, that being said, why don't we take a look at these lovely decks we have this week? I know we had a big week last week. This week looks like it's going to be another big one. Hopefully we have some good contenders in there.
Yeah.
So first up, let's say congratulations to all the decks that funded this week. The Testament playing cards. The Morgana Illuminations art playing cards. The Biome V1 playing cards. The Paleo playing cards. And the Gold deck playing cards, which look like they funded as we landed on it. So congrats to them. And this will fund by the time we air the minimal playing cards. Ending this week, we have the Wind Roses playing cards, which if you watch this most recent Deckin Around episode, think about your pledge. The Jodu Vert playing cards. The Arena playing cards. The Land That I Love Most American playing card deck ever made, aka the Statemate deck.
That's a mouthful, eh?
It really is. The 8-bit Space and Zombie decks. The Aura playing cards by Walty Playing Card Studio. The PVLMV playing cards. The Photography deck.
I just don't understand.
They crushed that goal, though,
like
for sure.
that made $284,000. Like I
And still got 3 days to go. Could hit 300,000.
I don't get it.
The Hatchling Illustrated playing cards. The Keyhole playing cards. The Great Events Launch History cards. The Enigmas Puzzle Hunt playing cards. The Ornamental playing cards. And the TCC Wooden and Acrylic Playing Cards Display Stand. And the Instant Noodles playing cards.
Heck yeah, wow.
And the Omen Playing Cards Pirates Edition. Man, there were a lot of decks that are ending this week. Guys, go make sure to check all them out, support the decks you think are worth it, and make sure you budget right, because that's a lot of decks wrapping in the next 7 days.
Yeah, and do your homework and see which decks are worth funding and worth dropping.
Yeah. No doubt about that there.
Yeah.
So first up this week, we have the Pixel Clown playing cards, which this sounds like an interesting one here. And it looks...
Like
so it's funny, because I think... Yeah, it looks like a video game deck, and I feel
it
like...
It looks like Mario Brothers, actually.
It kind of does, except with, like, clown faces on Mario-esque characters.
I mean, that looks like the girl. That looks like Mario Brothers.
Yeah, but their faces are replaced with clown faces. That's all it is. Yeah, listen, it's an interesting deck. I think definitely a parody deck on that 8-bit series that we've been seeing a lot of lately.
What's this box thing?
Yeah, it looks like some sort of like game box with maybe stickers in it and a seal. Interesting looking design. There's a puzzle.
I'm confused.
This is honestly one of the most like disjointed campaigns I've ever seen, but like
I'm so confused to what's going on right now.
They've got seals on it. It's an interesting deck. I'm sure if this is your style, like cool, go for it. Relatively plain back. It looks like it has crossed controllers of a sort with some police tape that says Pixel Clown and then 2 stars in the corners. It's not terrible looking, but it surely isn't my style. Again, though, I'm not really into this whole like 8-bit style of decks. I think they do try and play on a nostalgia aspect for video gamers, but they don't really like appeal to me necessarily.
Yeah, I don't understand.
The one thing I would say for this campaign, I like, hey, that's a cute comic there. Show the courts and the
I
face
think they
and
showed
the
them up top. No, no, down, down, down. Right
so
there.
yeah, but that's like two.
I
Like,
mean, but it gives you an idea of what they look like. So they have nothing to
yeah.
do with anything. It's just like
See, and
random.
even the number cards though, because it looks like they're kind of pixelated, and I think that was actually cool looking. They look like they'd be good, but I can't really tell from this picture, and that's the only picture of the number cards.
Yeah.
Uh,
How much are these things?
they are going for $32 shipped for an early bird because of shipping out of the UK.
Who's fulfilling this thing?
I would guess by that, probably self-fulfilled. I don't see anything about
Guys, do your homework,
nothing
man.
about
Like,
fulfillment. Yeah,
do your homework. Look into fulfillment centers that are in the States and wherever in the EU. There's
yeah.
definitely several companies over there that are doing fulfillment, or if you're doing it yourself, cool, do it. Just you got to look in the U.S. Having a deck like this for $30 shipped is crazy.
It looks like it's also a very limited run.
I mean, I don't care if there's
Well,
25 of the decks. To have it $30 is crazy anyway.
well, no, and so I think to that extent, though, I'm guessing that they're probably using a different printer. It's not going to be any sort of like well-known printer.
Right.
Here we go. Actually, WJPCC. So I take that back. I enjoyed WJPCC cards, so at least that's a plus there.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I would
the first deck that felt good from them is, or the only deck I should say that I've touched, is the Acelion Silence deck.
yeah.
That just got released. That deck feels great, and it's from WJPC. So, assuming it's on the same stock as that and finished, then it's going to feel great. But $30 is crazy. Like you
And
really need to do something about that price.
And I'm wondering now if maybe the reason the shipping is so expensive is they're using the fulfillment by WJPC, and if that's the case, reconsider, just because shipping from Asia to most of the other world is always going to be as almost the most expensive shipping you can do. So single high ship cost to yourself and then self fulfillment would be less expensive, more likely than not. That being said, I would also include fulfillment information if it is being self fulfilled or if it is being fulfilled by WJPCC there. Because I do think there's an audience for this deck, without question. I think we've seen it with the Bicycle 8-bit pixel decks. We've seen it with some of the other 8-bit decks that have come out recently and funded very well. But that shipping is killer there. So definitely figure out how you may be able to lower that a little bit, guys. But
I mean,
otherwise,
you got
I
to
think
lower it by $10. This shouldn't be more than $20 shipped.
yeah. And that being said, it's a interesting looking deck. I think you put a lot of thought into the campaign. More pictures of the face cards, though, and the number cards, I think, just to kind of round out what information you're giving. But good first effort. I hope it goes well for you guys.
Yeah,
Next
good luck.
up, we
Good
have
luck.
the Pride deck.
Yeah.
Which has already looks like almost more than doubled its goal. So congratulations,
Nice.
congratulations on that. Yeah.
I like the fan. The fan would look good on your fanning table, buddy.
No, it's definitely a good looking fan.
Who's printing it?
I like the fact that it's meant to be. I'm guessing by the very end. Granted, these are renders, but
yeah, they're definitely
by the very rounded edges. Like, let's see, backs.
That's cool. What's that back say?
What?
Go up.
We
Right
are
there.
proud.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Printed in Italy, so probably a smaller printer. So the weird thing that stuck out to me there was, unfortunately, if we don't get to fund 100% of the pledge, there won't be another Kickstarter. Why? Kickstarter doesn't allow a second chance.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, they do. So So that being said, you've already surpassed your goal significantly, so awesome. But in the future, be aware that if you do not fund successfully the first time, you can relaunch a campaign. You cannot carry over backers, but I think if you build a successful enough campaign the first time around and you have backers, you keep in constant communication with them if you do need a relaunch for any reason.
Yeah, you can make an update that way. All however many backed you will see it. How much is this deck?
It does not look inexpensive. It looks like it's going to fall around that $35 mark shipped again.
Jesus Christ. It's crazy.
So
I mean, they crushed it. They got a ton of support, which is good,
which I think is great.
Definitely not a COD. It's not from the COD community. It's probably from the LGBTQ community, which is great.
Yeah. I see, and as you get more, obviously, the good thing about it is as you add more, they do reduce the price down. You're still looking at probably somewhere around $21 a deck, best case, if you go for 3 or 4. But
so expensive.
Yeah, it is a pricey deck, but again, I mean, 456 backers, doubled the goal already more than doubled the goal. So congratulations on that.
What's the person's name? The creator?
Jade Fury.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Congrats, Jade, on that one.
Yeah, congratulations.
Next up, we have the Genso and Densho decks.
Dude, I love this deck. This deck is so sexy.
I much prefer the first kind of iteration of this style deck that came out from Card Experiment, but I do like this deck as well. I just think the
artwork is just so on point. It's so good.
The artwork is awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of different variations on this one versus the other one. So the first one I'm talking about is the Musha and Goketsu decks, which there were 3 copies, 3 different styles of. I think on this one there are something like 4 base styles and then potentially another style, if I remember correctly.
Dude, those core cards are so sick.
It really is a good-looking deck.
The green.
And Card Experiment is pretty well known, so they're kicking this off even though they haven't fulfilled the previous campaign, but they have a reputation behind them of obviously fulfilling successfully.
What was their when did their previous campaign end?
A couple months back.
Yeah.
So I think with everything going on with COVID, they probably had shipping delays because of that. So that's somewhat understandable. I think they actually just finished their print run the day before they launched this, and the print run was being shipped to them for final assembly and everything before distribution. So it wasn't like they were still waiting to even get printed or sign, a contract with USPCC or anything like that. Yeah, I love the aces in this deck. I think it's a good looking deck.
This deck is so nice. That color, that's cool. I love that color too.
I don't know if I like the red and the blue together, to be honest. It's
the Red Sox, bro.
Well,
I'm not a fan of the
I don't like
how they're shallow. They don't have the colored faces. It kind of drops for me.
And we've discussed this in the past with other decks too. It makes it feel a little flat, and you lose some of the detail. And I think especially in this deck, there's so much attention to detail that it's a shame to lose it. That being said, though, I do love the blue stock, and I just like this green one.
This one looks really nice. I hope it's a white. Yeah, it's not. That sucks.
Yeah, and they
What's the top? What's the other ones look like again? The first 2. Do they all have the same? Yeah, see, they have white. See, I like those better.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the Christmas one, so I'd have to go with just that first one.
Yeah, but that being said, too, they're pretty reasonably priced. So you're looking at, the shipping's a little high, but again, because it's coming from Asia, you're looking at $12 for the deck plus $9 shipping, brings you to $21 per deck. It does, I believe, get cheaper the more you get. Yeah, so it brings it down to $20 a deck if you get both. Card Experiments. This is an interesting one too, because if you get a brick, I think you get a free let me see if they're doing it with this one. I know they did it with the previous ones, where if you do a brick, you get a free craft, a free tuck sheet or something, like uncut tuck.
That's cool.
Which I don't know if they're doing it with this one. They may not be, but that's always an interesting thing as an add-on for me, because I don't really see a lot of A lot of people who get into the idea of an uncut card sheet, I don't know how many more people get into the idea of an uncut tuck. So if you like collecting the uncut tuck, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Cool.
think these are definitely good looking decks, and if
They
this
have the
hasn't funded
bicycle
already,
versions.
yeah, which this
Yeah.
this already more than funded, not surprised there. But I do
Yeah.
like that they tell the story behind it as well. So
That artwork is just killer. I love it.
yeah,
Love it, love it, love it.
no doubt. So where's my thing? Like, there we go. Next up, we have the Amida Playing Cards Kiku Edition. So the interesting thing about this is actually the same creator who... See, this is just, to me, and this is kind of like wiping things under, or like brushing things under the rug here. This is the same creator who did the Animal X Lion
And the
or the
peacock.
Leo and the Peacock editions, but it
Yeah.
looks like he created a new account, so this appears to be the first one. Honestly,
Right.
like, I think it's awesome that he has a lot of designs in his head and he's trying to get one out there that's going to succeed. At the same time, though, I kind of wish that he had taken a step back from the other two campaigns that hadn't succeeded,
Yeah.
tried to get community feedback, brought those to fruition instead of just throwing another idea out there, because I think that's not the best way to approach, creating
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
deck of
Because
cards.
what is that on there? Is that like a lotus or something?
It's
Or
a chrysanthemum, I think it mentioned.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a chrysanthemum.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
To
it
me, though, it
definitely.
also,
Good.
I was going to say, it's also very reminiscent of a deck that just came out in the same color with two, like, flowers on the back.
Which deck?
I can't remember the name of it. It launched a couple weeks ago. And not on, I don't think it was a Kickstarter. I think it was straight to store. But
Yeah.
if you know what deck I'm talking about, feel free to comment that down below as well. If I figure out what it is, I will put it in the description. It's not, I mean, actually, I really like the idea of the red bases on the Jokers. It's an interesting deck. I just don't necessarily think it's...
Yeah, I mean, it has all the information, which is good. It has fulfillment. It has where it's being printed. Like all the information's there, which is cool. It has a story. It has everything that we always talk about, which is great.
Yeah.
But definitely, like you said, I'd like to see more talk about it. Put it out there into the community. See how the response is. Get some feedback from people.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. What's it coming in at price wise?
$20 a deck shipped.
Yeah, I mean, what does it say for fulfillment right there? It's a little blurry on my end.
Hansen Chen.
Yeah, I mean, he's a reputable guy, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I hope to see something that Alexandru puts out will fund, because I think he's got a lot of creative energy behind his campaigns, and I think that's awesome. It's just, again, a matter of tailoring the idea to the community you're trying to sell to, and the best way to do that is to find one idea and run with it.
Be patient, be patient.
100%, be patient. That being said, good luck on the campaign. 34 days to go on it, so good luck. Next up, we have the Pulse playing cards by Eclipse. Eclipse just funded their previous
Pokemon
deck.
right?
Yes, the Eclipse Originals, like a week ago or 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks ago. I think it was about a week ago now. So this is their second deck in the lineup. The interesting
a little too soon.
Yeah, and you know what? I had reached out to them about that, and they kind of already had it in the works and didn't want to pull it back, which, again, fine, but they've also kind of realized that they launched a little too early there, so we'll see with future campaigns if they actually, take that to heart and hold up a little bit, or if they continue to launch back-to-back campaigns pre-fulfillment. I think as a first-time creator, it's really important to make sure that you fulfill a couple decks before you start stacking campaigns so that people know your reputation to trust. Because what you'll end up seeing is, and again, I know this is an abbreviated campaign on their side, but their previous campaign funded in 24 hours, I want to say. This one's been up for 4 days and is about halfway there. I think a lot of that could be attributed to the fact that people haven't received your previous deck, so they're not necessarily sure what your reputation is. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but that being said, I think it's a pretty good looking deck. I'd like to see. What are the pulls? Okay, so I'd like to see a little bit more of a story, because high quality, cool. Like, it's 2 sentences. Build out the story a little bit. Bicycle grade stock. So where? I'm curious now where these are being printed in general, because it says that bicycle stock is a stretch goal. So
Card stock and finish. There you go. Printed by USPCC.
on standard bicycle grade stock, but then why is that listed above as a stretch goal?
The stretch, that's the goal, maybe, if it gets funded.
Nah, that's below the goal, 3,100, so 45. So I guess there's a little confusion there on my part, or on the part of the campaign, as to kind of it might be good to take a look at that and clarify that, because it's a little confusing. USPCC appears to be the printer on standard bicycle stock, but then the stretch goal kind of confuses me a little bit on that. So love to hear some clarification on that. It's not a bad looking deck. I think it would fan nicely. It's got some, standard pips and indices. Got kind of like a melty vibe to it, which is cool. Very artistic. It almost has like that depth of like a topographical map,
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Like
fulfilled by gamblers.
I think of the desert when I look at it. Like that middle artwork looks kind of like a cactus to me.
Yeah, no, I could see that. That being said, and again, I still think this is a little, $33. Oh, that's the uncut sheet. Why is the uncut sheet the first thing on there? Make sure your deck is your first reward. You always want people buying decks, not other stuff.
Yeah.
$22 shipped. A little high for what I see on this one. I'd rather see this come in around the $18 to $20 range. I think that would be more reasonable for it, considering it's pretty standard quartz and faces. Yeah, they're redone quartz to some extent, but
they look like Arco. I can't.
Yeah, they look like Arco with no border. So, and then like the colors shifted a little. So semi-standard quartz, for lack of a better term. But I still think somewhere around that $18 to $20 mark probably would have been a little more reasonable on this one.
Shipped,
yeah. It's not a bad deck. So, with 10 days left, I hope they get some momentum behind it to fulfill, because I know their first one, did really well within the community. So, cool. All right, guys, good luck with this one. Next up, we have High Roller Black and White Edition playing cards. I feel like we just saw something like this the other day.
I have no idea. Definitely a little too much for me. It's too much black going on.
Yeah, they're very dark. Printed by Cardamundi, not bad. Yeah, it's just a very so I think one of my first issues here, and this is really just a personal thing, so
$19
you may love it. Well, I didn't even get to that one. I was gonna say the front of the tuck is so busy, and in black and white, it's hard to focus on any single part of it.
Bro,
yeah,
$19 a deck. That's the Kickstarter offer.
Oh, 26 shipped.
Dang, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are they plastic? What's that bend all about?
No, black matte paper. I don't know what the bend's about. It is kind of a weird thing to show off there. It's also a very interesting back design. I like the floral aspect of it, but the huge void in the back just seems weird.
Yeah, definitely not my style.
Not my style.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of flowers on decks anyway. I can't even think of like a flower deck that jumps out at me. But
I do like the fact that they have a timeline in here, and I think there's a lot of other Kickstarters that do this, but not in the playing card community, and I think it's worthwhile to show because it kind of helps visualize when things are to be expected. I was talking to someone about this the other day. I think Kickstarter campaigns are very visual versus textual. So the
Yeah.
more you can put into visual ingestible kind of styles, the better. And I think this is nice.
I mean,
Yeah,
this is the timeline of when it was started to when it went live, and I think that's kind of what's the point of
well, it
it.
also
But
has delivery. So
right, but
showing
that's what I'm
it's
saying. It
building the
has like
story.
from when it's yeah, exactly.
It's
But
it's telling the story. So
yeah,
that being said, too, though, I don't know what the print run on this, but even being printed by Cardamondi, $1,000 for a 53 card deck seems low. So I'm guessing that this will be a short run. But yeah, I mean, I think this one might need to go back to the drawing board if it doesn't fund. I think there's
yeah,
potential there, but yeah. So good luck. That price point's a little high. So
it's a lot of high.
yeah. Next up, we have the Faith playing cards.
By Ali.
Yeah, and Byworthy, Josh. So we actually had a live about this the other day.
Yep.
Um, we took a look at the deck. I have to say, like, the deck's grown on me. I think the fan is beautiful on it. It really has some nice fanning elements with the broken border there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
There's
I think the story is there. It has a story. It has all the information in it. Has a ton of pictures. Ali cropping my images.
it happens.
There's a couple images in there of mine.
There you go.
Gamblers,
Fulfillment, shipping it.
Byworthy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is the cool thing about this campaign is the fact that in the U.S. he's using Gamblers Warehouse, and in Australia he's using Byworthy, and
Yep.
for the EU, that's amazing. I think it's great. I think actually is Byworthy doing the fulfillment on that side?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So good on them for planning that out properly. And what do we have for prices?
About $21.
Shipped?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little heavy.
Yeah. I
Definitely,
mean, again,
definitely heavy on that because I mean, especially if Gamblers is fulfilling it, it should be 18 shipped.
so, and it looks like going to the two deck option, it brings it down to 1650 a deck shipped, which is a little more reasonable. So one versus two, you're getting a better cut there. It looks like there were
Which
also
doesn't
some
make
early
that doesn't
birds.
make any sense. That might be
Yeah, the
just an
early
error maybe on their part.
what?
Like the shipping costs, where it costs more for one deck than it does for two.
No, it's the same. It's more shipping for two. It's just they bring the cost of the deck down for two,
Yeah.
which is what they should be doing. You should always be discounting the more someone is willing to buy.
Right, for sure. Yeah, just that single deck option is a little high.
Yeah. And there were some early birds on there. It looks like they got some, people jumped on those. So you're probably looking at 33. So you're saving about $2 a deck on the early bird, which isn't bad.
Yeah,
Yeah. Now listen, good luck on the campaign, Ali. And Josh, I think there's some good momentum behind it.
yeah, definitely. I definitely think it's a cool deck. If it's your style, definitely grab it.
Yeah. And I like the fact that there is a story behind it, which a lot of decks just seem to lack these days.
Yeah.
Next up is the Champion Deck series by Williams Playing Cards.
And we've seen this deck in Daniel Madison's recent videos.
Yep.
Cool deck. I like the back design.
I do
it
too.
definitely reminds me of other decks, that look similar, like the Gamblers and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's got a good a good full borderless design. It's eye catchy. The fan is probably beautiful on it. It's a very hypnotic pattern.
Yeah, it's definitely it looks good. Like that picture of Daniel like on a table. If you're doing table work, it's really cool. Yeah, so it's a nice deck. Standard courts. Obviously, I think
Daniel's a little bit of recolor.
Other random people that might have adjusted a little bit, but for the most part, they're standard.
No, it looks like only the King of Diamonds and the Queen of Hearts, from what I can see.
Yeah, the King of Diamonds is Daniel.
Yeah, and then I'm not sure who the Queen of Hearts is, but I like those aces too. I think it's a good look to it. The only thing I see with this is it's an expensive deck.
How much is it?
Oh, actually, perfect. Free shipping saves it there. $17 for the deck, but free shipping.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
I think if there was shipping, and that's the thing. Like ultimately, like I think this is more of a situation of the deck is maybe $12, $13, and then they're including free shipping in it because this is
Yeah.
a yeah, it's a
That's a
nice
good, that's
deck,
a it's
but
a good price tag. That's where it should be.
yeah, no, without a
Yeah.
doubt,
Well, that's good. Good job.
yeah. Nicely done. And yeah, two decks brings you down to 14 a deck. It looks like this could be a cool like workers deck, something you could use every day and
Yeah,
really get into. So, how
for
they
sure.
doing so far with the campaign? More than halfway through to the goal, 139 backers and 24 days to go. So I think that's exciting. Um, Definitely good luck with the campaign, guys, and look forward to seeing that in the retail market for sure because I think it's a good looking deck.
Yeah. Agreed.
Next up, we have the bold deck.
Electra.
Yes, this is the first solo release by Electra, who usually designs for Passione. Um, this is a absolutely beautiful typography oriented deck. Um, I like it. I like the fact that there's two editions, the black edition and the white edition, the bold and the bold deluxe. I think it's got some really interesting kind of touches to it. And I think the campaign itself is just eye catching. The movement, the pictures, they're very well done. Obviously, the renders, they're very well done. Um, I like the kind of whimsical style. It's almost like art of play esque courts there,
Mm,
but I like it. It's got a very fresh feel to it. That background color on the deluxe edition is something else.
yeah, the gold.
Yeah,
Is it metallic ink or
that I do not know. Let's see. Yeah, Bold Deluxe will feature bronze metallic ink and red on black background.
mm,
That's gonna pop. That's gonna be really nice. I love the Jokers. It's definitely a cool looking deck. Price point on this I think was really reasonable too. Yeah, the standard edition on this is $14 shipped.
yeah,
Guys,
that's
again, like
perfect.
this shows you what you can do with a deck of cards at
Hmm.
that price point. Like this is a well designed deck for literally $14 a deck. If you
Yeah,
want to get
and
the
you're getting a cool little brick a quartet box, for four
yeah,
decks, and you have two options. You have your workers and you have your collectors, and it's cheap. It's a great price shipped. $14 shipped to your house is awesome. Where's it being
dude,
fulfilled? Gamblers
we
probably.
probably gamblers, dude. Even with the deluxe, like you throw in the deluxe, which has two foils on the tuck and the metallic ink, and you're still $30 for two decks for one
Yeah,
standard and one deluxe. Like
yeah,
that's a solid price point there.
yeah.
USPCC and
Gamblers,
gamblers. Yep,
nice.
perfect.
Yep, nice. Word.
So
Well,
yeah, no, I think they're gonna
more people
crush
need to follow this stuff. Like pay attention
that.
to this campaign. This campaign is spot on. Electra
Yeah.
crushes it. Great job.
And she's really
The
close to the goal line there, so I think everyone just needs to, definitely check this out.
Yeah, and that goal is low. Like
Yeah.
10. Does that say 10?
10, yeah, 10-4 for
Yeah, I
two
mean
decks, one
10-4
of
for
which
two
has
decks.
yeah,
That's
and one of
cheap.
which is foiled and metallic ink. Like that's really cheap. So
Yeah.
definitely jump on this. This is going to be a beautiful deck, and I think this is probably this is a sleeper for 2020 for sure. Like if you don't grab this deck now, you're going to be kicking yourself in 6 months because I think people are going to be looking for this deck. It's a cool deck. It's got a beautiful style to it, and especially if you're a collector, this would fit into your kind of collection there.
That's a
Cool.
bold statement, Tyler. See what I did?
I, I do see what you did there, Steve. Next up, we have the Diamond playing cards number 14 Purple Star.
Our homies.
Yeah. Now, listen, I was talking to them last week. They commented on our other video, and I was like, can't wait to check out the Diamond when it drops on this week.
Yeah.
Diamond
I mean,
playing
their
cards.
stuff's always on point. They've done so many like campaigns that they have all the information. Their price point is always like killer.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
yeah. They're up there a little bit sometimes with price. It could, you know, it would be good to have it a
19
couple dollars
shipped.
lower. What?
19 shipped on this one.
Yeah. Which is not bad, obviously.
Yeah.
It's below 20, which is great. There's that fan for you.
That fan looks so good. Honestly, like I think and I think this is one of those areas. So yeah, if you're not aware, Diamond Playing Cards is a part of Dutch House Playing Cards, who also does the Paisley decks, the Tulip decks, things like that. They really create some beautiful playing card designs.
Yeah, they do a great job. They don't steal other, as far as I know, they don't steal other people's artwork. They're very active in the community, commenting, checking out people's stuff. They hop into people's lives. Like they're just a company across the board that know what's up.
Well. Dude, I have to say too, pins are not necessarily my thing usually, but I dig this Ace of Spades pin that they have from this deck.
Yeah, because you know what? You can use it for anything. It doesn't have to be like COD based. It's not. I mean, technically, it's not like a brand pin or something like that. So, you know, the fact that they're doing pins is pretty cool, and I love how all those designs are different, and they're offering each one of them in the campaign.
Yep. Which I think is phenomenal, because I know a lot of times people have been hunting for the 5s, the 8s, the 10s, all of these. You know, when you come across Diamond playing cards, you find one of them and you want to get the rest. This is a great opportunity to pick up the ones you've missed in the past. I think
is there a whatchamacallit?
Like a tier for all of them?
A tier for all of them?
Yeah. What do we got here? $90 for all 6. All 5. Yes. Yeah.
For all 5 or all 6?
All 5. Yeah.
You mean, well, there's 6 of them.
No, there's 5. 5, 8, 10, 12, 14.
Go up? What's that? There's 6 there.
Number 2 is no longer available.
Gotcha.
So you get 5, 8, 10, 12, and 14. I do have to say, out of all of them, I think number 2 and number 12 are my favorite, but these 14s with the colorway is just beautiful.
Yeah, I love that.
So... And fulfilled by gamblers.
Yeah,
they know what they're doing here. Good luck, guys. I mean, you already crushed the goal, so good luck. Keep up the momentum there. Yeah, congratulations.
Way to go.
Next up, we have the Tournament of the Mythic Kingdoms playing cards. These guys also have crushed their goal already. First-time creators in this space. 3 guys who run a board game blog, who put a lot of effort into this. I think there's a beautiful kind of fantasy styling to this deck, but you can tell a lot of thought went into it. You can tell that they actually tried to figure out what the playing card community would want with a deck of cards, being from outside of the community. And I think that's the first step anytime you try and create something in a new community, is do your research. You know, this is a cool looking deck. They're offering 2 different colorways. They're both actually different decks. So you have the Nature deck and the Joker Magic deck. They are both 2 separate decks, so it's not just a recolor on it.
I like the purple. I like that purple one.
I like the purple as well. I actually think they're both really cool. And I'm into that fantasy stuff. I also like the fact that they're doing an art book. Obviously not, you know, groundbreaking there. We've seen other decks do an art book. But I think when you really have a very illustrated and artsy deck, it's cool to have an art book, because it's something you can look at and see the story behind, and it looks like they provide information on each of the cards, just building onto that story, which I think is really neat.
Right.
They did some phenomenal stuff here, and they've already come up with a lot of... I mean, they've already crushed all their stretch goals, so they're in the process of building out new stretch goals.
Nice.
And from the point of a price point on this one, $17 shipped. Like, again, that's awesome. That's what you like to see with a newcomer to the field who's coming in and putting together something that's reasonably priced to try and make their name in the community. So congratulations on funding. Yeah. And definitely looking forward to see what you guys come out with in the future as well. Next up, we have the
You see
Falcon
the
Razor.
pugs and mugs.
That is funny. It's a card game,
I
sadly.
know, I
But
know. I just
if you
it's so cool though.
if you like pugs and or mugs, go for it. So next up, we have the Falcon Razor playing cards by DeVoe in collaboration with Rick Smith Jr. So this is, anyone who's familiar with DeVoe's decks, this is, I believe, the third in the Falcon playing card throwing series. I think there was a gold, a blue, and then this red. 651 backers. DeVoe's got we've talked about this every time he has a deck up. He has a very low goal. He's got kind of a devout following who always jumps on it. 32,000. So clearly he's hitting his goals there.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we know why he puts $1,000 goal, because he's gonna he knows he's gonna get funded, and it looks really good when it says 13,000% funded.
Yeah,
which is fine. Yeah, but it's definitely great for promoting, for sure.
Yeah, and I think one of the things to me that stands out with these is I think the appeal to these, if you're into throwing cards, is that they're supposedly slightly thicker than a usual playing card, so they have more durability and they fly a little better. I'm guessing I've never thrown playing cards really in any sort of like serious capacity, so if you're into that, I think this is a great thing. And obviously anyone who is into playing card throwing knows who Ricky Smith Jr. is. He's currently, I think, the Guinness Book of World Records holder for the farthest and the fastest thrown playing card. There may even be a third record in there, but I cannot recall off the top of my head.
I mean, I'm sure if Ricky Smith wanted to, Rick Smith Jr., I should say, wanted to, get more world records, I'm sure he could, based around throwing. Yeah. The kid's a beast.
Yeah, no, he does. I mean, I think his speed record was like something like 91 miles per hour, which is insanely fast for a playing card. If you haven't seen him throw cards, definitely check out some of his YouTube videos because they're amazing.
Cool guy.
What are we looking at magician. For? Yeah, $18 shift for the standard deck, I think, is a good deal. I'm not a huge fan of the voided kind of court faces there, but again, I think that's just my style preference.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a preference thing, and like, to be honest, these cards are throwing cards.
Exactly, and so I think it doesn't necessarily matter there because you very well could play poker with these, but at the same time, like the purpose of these is for throwing. Neat little fact about it is these stars are actually meant to gauge how deep you've thrown a card into an object, which I think is cool. It allows you to kind of track your progress as you get better at throwing cards. If you can get something in 1 star, 2 star, 3 stars, you're throwing faster, I'm assuming, or with more force, which I think is cool. These really are clearly built for throwing cards. So if this is your jam,
here's my crazy. How much is it each deck?
The standard ones with the non-foil are 18. The foiled ones are 24.
Okay, here's my problem with this. These decks are made for throwing. You're going to ruin a shit ton of these cards. So the fact that you're paying $17 a deck for a deck that you're technically going to ruin like pretty easily, I think is a little much. I think this deck should be a $10 deck. Not, obviously not the deluxe version, but the regular standard one should be $10 a deck. That way, you can
buy a bunch and destroy them.
You could buy a bunch and literally practice throwing with them,
Well, I think by that same token too, then it's like, all right, you buy a deluxe one, I guess, because you want to have a collector's copy of it. But I can't imagine someone's going out there with a foiled tuck to destroy.
Yeah, no, of course not. And I think, it'd be cool to. I mean, obviously he crushes his goal, so. I'd like to think that most of the people are collecting these rather than like banging them up, but
yeah, maybe. But good luck on that one, Rick Smith Jr. Dope deck. So next up, we have the Shard playing cards.
Dude, there's a lot of decks coming out, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the past month we've seen over, almost 60 decks.
It's crazy. They're just like overloading. And this is just the decks that are on Kickstarter, not even the ones that are dropping within the community,
Yeah. I think, I mean, listen, I think this is definitely a starting point for a deck. I think there's a lot of people who already enjoy it. From my personal point of view, this isn't necessarily my style. It kind of feels unfinished.
Right.
Um, but again, okay, here you go. Shard strikes balance between minimalist design and functionality. Awesome. Printed by USPCC. Good to see right in the front there. Protection. We donated. I think it's awesome that they're going to be donating part of the proceeds to the World Health Organization for COVID-19, though just based on the World Health Organization's distribution of funds, I would almost recommend maybe another charity that maybe does a little bit more towards the funding of the issue itself versus administrative costs. But again, the fact that there's
Right.
a charitable aspect to this deck, I think is really cool.
How much
I
is
like
it?
the $12, 16 shipped. Perfect
Not
price
bad.
point.
Yeah.
Dead
Yeah.
on. Yep.
And they're donating 5%. So they're not.
Yeah.
It's not even like they're rolling that into, their cost. I mean, they're not rolling it into our cost.
Exactly. I think I like the blue and the pink versus the standard black and the red.
Yeah, me too.
Pretty standard indices and pips, though the indices do look a little bit smaller. It's kind of like Art of Play-esque. The back design doesn't necessarily resonate with me, but again, I think this is something we've seen hit or miss in the past as well. The replacement of quartz with inanimate objects. It can either work or it can't sometimes. I know there's some people who are very much diehard traditionalists who think that court cards should be people, and if they're not people, they're not going to back a deck. I think there's, the people who this deck is geared towards may not necessarily care, because to me, this is kind of a cardistry deck. And I think for cardistry purposes, that's actually a really cool face.
Right.
So, yeah, I think this is a solid deck. And I think that price point, again, one of the better price points we've seen today. It's funny to think that out of all the decks we saw today, there were only 4 that came in under the $20 price point shift for one deck.
It's crazy. And all the ones that are over 20 are definitely not $20 decks.
And I think, and it's funny because we've also had discussions with creators who, after they see these videos, reach out and say, hey, we really tried to figure out how to get the shipping less. We just couldn't. At the same time, well, no, I don't want to say
they're not using gamblers. They're not using like fulfillment centers that will guarantee that cheaper shipping.
And that's what I think it comes down to is, here are examples of other campaigns that are pulling it off. Reach out. This is a community. Use all your resources to figure out how you can reduce your costs, because just because you couldn't figure it out, clearly other people are figuring it out. And it may be that you end up having a lower profit margin. But if it ends up getting you a larger final funding goal, then really you're probably going to make more money if that's the main concern there. I know no one wants to get into this to lose money, but clearly there's ways to get these decks out there at a lower price point, especially on the shipping side. So consider how you're going to get that done and use all the resources at your disposal. Yep. But
good luck.
That being without a doubt, good luck, Kevin Kim. You're close to your goal, and with 23 days left and less than $1,000 to go, I'm sure you'll fund. So congrats on almost funding on your first deck. And that is all for this week. Which ones would you back, Steve?
I definitely back that Genso and what is it, Densho?
Densho, yeah.
I definitely back that. That thing's dope. I dig the champion deck. I think that's dope. A little pricey.
Yeah.
I'd back the Diamon playing card. That's about it for me.
All right. So on my end, I'm definitely for Genso and Densho. I see again, same with the champion deck. A little pricey on from my point of view, but I do like the back design. Definitely in on the bold deck. Definitely in on the Diamon deck, and I think the fact that you can get the other ones for a reasonable cost is worthwhile. I'm in on the Tournament of the Mythic Kingdoms just because I love fantasy, so that's definitely right up my alley. Like that's a perfect deck for me right there. Otherwise, that's probably it on my end as well. So a lot of good decks this week. I think a lot of potential. I think again, the one area we just see a lot of focus that needs to go for a lot of these new campaigns is the price point. Think about how you want to do that.
Research, like so many people probably just don't even reach out to Gambler's Warehouse or Murphy's Magic. You guys, they also do fulfillment. Reach out to these places and find out more information. And the only thing that it's going to do is help your campaign.
Absolutely. So definitely make sure to do all your research before you kick these out. If you're not a first-time creator, but you're looking to get your first deck funded also, remember to stick with an idea, take in the community feedback that you get, and always consider relaunching. I think, very rarely do we see a deck that I wouldn't recommend relaunching. If you don't fund on it your first chance, more often than not, you were just missing a few little things. You need a few little tweaks here and there, and you can get your deck funded. That being said, don't give up. Don't be discouraged by the fact that, you may get community feedback you don't like to hear. It is a community. When people are trying to tell you things, more often than not, they're trying to be helpful. Maybe not all of them. It's just a matter of sifting through the ones who are and are not helpful and kind of ignoring the ones that aren't helpful.
Yep.
But if you have the ideas to create a deck, don't give up because it doesn't fund the first time. Consider relaunching
Agreed.
and figure out how you can relaunch in a way that's going to get you over that goal line, because clearly a lot of decks fund every week. A lot of decks launch every week. You have to be one of the better ones in a market that is becoming so populated with new decks.
Yeah. You know what deck campaign that you should definitely take a look at when it hits is our sponsor.
Yep.
They come out Tuesday at what time? 10 a.m. Eastern Standard
10 a.m.
Time.
Yes. So Lit Playing Cards
Man.
Cardistry Baseball Series drops July 28th at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Lit Playing Cards and Doc's Playing Cards both are experts in the Kickstarter community. They've had a lot of successful decks kick off. It's going to be a campaign where you can look at what they're putting out there, look at the story they're telling, look at the information they're putting out, and use that to figure out what things you need to include. So definitely make sure to check that out this Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Heck yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check it out next week because we drop these every Monday, taking a look at any decks that have launched in that week.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys would, agree with us on what decks you would fund, or if you have other decks that you would prefer to fund other than what we chose, definitely leave them down below and why. I'd love to read and see what you guys think of the decks that we went over this week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone.